Hello students, after studying this module, you shall be able to understand how the social and personality aspect of the self changes with age, the various theories used to understand such changes, the concept of successful aging and how to age successfully. The dominant view till now has been that one's personality is fixed in childhood, but times are changing and new researches suggest that most people's personalities evolve throughout their lives. Personality changes during senescence have frequently portrayed by writers, poets, dramatists, and depending upon the writer's outlook, the elderly are either idealized or caricatured. Psychologists, on the other hand, base their views about aging on systematic study and empirical testing. However, it has been observed that even their manner of perceiving personality and adjustment of later life is based on their expectancies and attitudes towards aging. There are three broad areas of personality research related to old age. They are principal developmental tasks of later life, theoretical approaches to late life personality dynamics, and measurement of psychological well-being, adjustment, and successful aging among the elderly. According to Newman in 1980, personality is a combination of traits, talents, roles, and coping styles integrated in a recognizable way. According to Nugent, personality includes both stability and change throughout life cycle, and concepts of personality like aging are culture and time bound. Lifespan developmental approach is increasingly used to study adult and late life development. This viewpoint focuses on those changes that can be demonstrated to vary with age regardless of the direction of change. The emphasis is on trying to determine the continuities and discontinuities in personality across and within individuals as they age. Changes caused by adaptation of person to his or her environment are in focus here. Some important questions that are asked by late life personality researchers include: how do the life events shape one's personality and determine the conflicts one must resolve? What is the relationship between personality and life satisfaction and adjustment? Is personality changeable or does it remain stable across lifespan till old age? What kinds of changes occur in masculinity, femininity, inferiority, and passivity in later life? Are such changes culture specific? It has been observed that psychometric assessment like questionnaires and psychological tests are preferable to case studies. They are quick, convenient, objective, quantifiable, and offer a greater range of observation than psychodynamic approaches. However, one must be careful while drawing conclusions, for only the indirect aspect of personality structure can be measured by both the approaches. Self-health reports are frequently used to measure a person's perceived health status, and they are found to be better predictors of a person's daily activities and functions than a physician's objective diagnosis. However, caution is the key while drawing conclusions. It has been seen that the elderly lend to use extreme response categories on attitude scales, for they prefer simple, unambiguous responses. They are also more likely to use the don't know or can't say response more frequently than younger adults, for there are more afraid of making mistakes. Personality dynamics. Personality is an important part of human beings, but is still very different to define due to its subjectivity, especially over time. Theorists are in agreement over the fact that personality consists of a stable core and temporary adaptations to situational characteristics. According to Back 1976, Monte 1980, personality is determined and preserved by social interactions in context of groups most important to the individual. All social groups provide individuals with opportunities for positive and negative growth due to functional adaptations they require throughout life cycle. In later life, an individual faces losses which require tough adaptation. Such losses may make the older adult dependent on middle-aged children whose lives are in turn pointed towards their own retirement and increasing physical and financial needs. Such a dependency may be very difficult for all involved. All individuals' personality and characteristics are shaped in part by the changing family context and the individual's adaptation to it. A person who does not adapt to changing social demands in a positive way acquires negative qualities. The ego psychologist's point of view was Els Franke Brunquist in the 1930s conducted the first systematic study of the personality of the men of retirement age. She stressed upon the importance of social factors on one's self-concept and construction of reality. She found out that conflicts and frustrations of the period of transition could often be resolved by creating a balance sheet of life through memoirs, autobiographies, etc. Carl Jung was of the belief that people are motivated by achievement of selfhood. As one goes into middle and old age, an increase in introversion and reorganization of values towards inner self is seen. Erik Erikson. In order to reach harmonious personality development in old age, one must be able to resolve the psychosocial crisis of ego integrity versus despair. Ego integrity is the full unification of personality that enables individuals to view their lives with satisfaction. Social relations and productive life promotes the sense of contentment. The lack of ego integration is seen through fear of death or the feeling that life is too short. People experiencing despair feel that the time is running out and they view their lives with regret and disappointment. This final psychosocial crisis is precipitated by an awareness of personal mortality through retirement, death of spouse or peers, etc. Increased introspection and reminiscence leads to the achievement of final ego integrity. Social learning theory. The emphasis of this approach is on observable behaviors, which are the consequences of rewards and punishments, and not on unconscious mechanism. In 1950, John Dollard and Neil Miller developed the social learning theory. Many aspects of this theory are applied to the field of aging. According to this theory, an aging adult facing a crisis with reduced adaptive capacity may feel fear, stupidity, and helplessness. If such a crisis persists or additional crises are added, the person may begin to show confusion, memory loss, and health problems. This theory is consistent with the notion of learned helplessness given by Seligman in 1975. Learning theories are not very well able to develop a coherent theory is personality changes that occur in old age. But still, it presents a useful framework which considers behavior changes that occur in old age. Cognitive theories. Cognitive theories are of the view that each person constructs reality in an idiosyncratic manner based on the past experiences and associations with present circumstances. Neither reinforcement nor unconscious mechanisms determine behavior per se. Cognitive psychology has great applicability in aging. This view is especially useful while considering behavior related to mental and physical health in old age. The stability and coherence of a person arises from within and without own strengths and supportive environments. The strongest predictor of adjustment is how a person constructs reality and reconstructs his role in it after a crisis has occurred. Another example of impact of cognition on personality may be seen on the notion of competence or mastery developed by Robert White. White was of the view that human beings are motivated to produce some impact on the environment, and the most important reward people seek is the pleasure of a successful act. No general theory exists that can successfully explain the continuities and discontinuities of later life personality, but each theory provides an important view in total understanding and insight into applicability to our understanding of later life processes. While ego psychologists view personality growth and integration as life cycle processes, learning theorists stress on situational demands of behavior in an individual's response to events in the environment. Successful aging. Recent studies emphasize the importance of adaptation and emotional well-being in successful aging. It has been found that for most senior citizens, subjective quality of life is more important than the absence of disease and other objective measures relating to physical and mental health. Traditional definitions of successful aging have emphasized absence of physical and cognitive disabilities. In their 1987 article, Roy and Kahn characterized successful aging as involving three components. First, freedom from disease and disability. Second, high cognitive and physical functioning. And third, social and productive engagement. Many gerontologists agree that successful aging has two criteria: an inner criteria, that is life satisfaction, and an outer criteria, that is social roles and interpersonal responsibilities. Personality is determined by one's social interactions, and in the similar vein, patterns of aging reflects the person and the responses of significant groups in which the person affirms himself. Hevighurst and Peck proposed that developmental markers act as important signposts of adjustment. They push a person towards growth, taking into consideration the demands, constraints, and opportunities of the social environment. Peck theorized some of the developmental tasks of the middle and old age, and an adequate resolution between them needs to be achieved in order to achieve successful aging. Peck's developmental tasks of middle and old age. The first task is ego differentiation and work role preoccupation. Its focus is on the issue of vocational retirement. The person must learn to reappraise his worth in terms other than career and work role. He must show an interest in living than despair about the loss of an important work role. Successful aging depends on establishing valued self-attributes so that any of the possible alternative can be pursued with equal satisfaction. The second task is body transcendence and body preoccupation. Old age is associated with reduced physical abilities, increased susceptibility to illnesses, aches, and pains, etc. One must transcend their bodily self and enjoy life despite experiencing declining health. Emphasis should be given to satisfying personal relationships and active mental work. The third task is ego transcendence and ego preoccupation. It is coming to terms with the reality and inevitability of one's own death. This reality is confronted within old age when one sees one's spouse or peers die. People who transcend fear of death can invest enough time in improving relationships with family and friends because they become able to realize that the impact of relationship goes beyond their own morality. These developmental tasks occur roughly in the same sequence for all of the elderly, transcending cultures. They are not sequentially invariant or indicate actual structural changes in personality, but to point towards the optimum point of encounter with the social environment. Appropriate resolution clears the way for each subsequent encounter. Summary. The three broad areas of personality research on old age is related to principal developmental tasks in later life, theoretical approaches to late life personality dynamics, and measurement of psychological well-being, adjustment, and successful aging among the elderly. Social learning theorists believed that additional crises in old age make the elderly people feel inadequate and helpless. If such a crisis persists, then he or she may begin to show confusion, memory loss, and health problems. According to cognitive psychologists, the stability and coherence of a person arises from within and without own strengths and supportive environments. The strongest predictor of adjustment is how a person constructs reality and reconstructs his role in it after a crisis has occurred. Roy and Kahn characterized successful aging as involving three components: freedom from disease and disability, high cognitive and physical functioning, and social and productive engagement. Many gerontologists agree that successful aging has two criteria: an inner criteria, that is life satisfaction, and an outer criteria, that is social roles, interpersonal responsibilities.